So first, before we even start, we need to first know that every emergency on board, emergencies happens on board. Seriously, I would just want to use 2 seconds to find out if anybody have had any emergency on board, fire, grounding, stowaway, anyone out of Precious, you there? You've experienced any? I think you're still on mute.
I've actually experienced fire, but the rest are all drills.
Wow.
Fire, then we have blackouts. So those are the 2 I've experienced.
Wow. That's double emergencies. So were you able to contain the fire or not?
Actually, what happened was this incinerator. The incinerator. So that was they shouted fire. So there was smoke coming.
Who shouted fire?
I think the oiler. That was
okay, there. And what happened after he shouted fire?
When he shouted fire, so we just moved to our various stations. So
so that after the fire he shouted, everybody just
moved to our various stations. Then they sound the emergency alarm. So we had when he shouted fire, I was close to that area. Yeah. So I just moved to my various station. Then he now shouted, and then now sound the emergency, the fire alarm. That's continuous ringing of the bell. So moved to our station. Muster station. Immediately we started trying to don our fire suit and all that. So as I was donning it, Captain now sent another broadcast that we should all report to breach. So at that time, they now said it was actually a smoke.
Let's pause there. I just want to get how were you able to fight the fire? Do you think you fought it in a professional way or it was?
So that's what I'm trying to say now. So then they now said it was just a smoke. It wasn't a real fire. So they sent message. So it started changing. This one was like, you want to put me. All of us would disembark. We left the door and went back. So that's the only one. That is what I experienced. It was a long shot early in this and that, captain office and the rest. So I didn't stay to get all the information.
That's really interesting. It's really interesting in the sense that
So at the end, what I was trying to get, they said that they already incinerate the ashes that was there caused the smoke. So because the guy did not wait for everything to, so the thing started bringing film. So that film was what actually triggered the alarm.
Wow, that's really quite interesting because these are the questions in exam who might get asked. I was asked how have I experienced any incidents on board, and it led me straight down to my oral question as well. So some questions like this will come to you and they will ask you, have you experienced any fire before? Then they now wanted to start, how do you fight the fire? So first thing first, we first need to know that every company has an emergency contingency plan added to their SMS. So while you are speaking about how to fight the fire or how to fight any emergencies, you also need to make note of the safety management system, the SMS, which details also basic actions, if you put it that way, that you need in fighting the fire. But the examiner does not also want you to feel that when fire happens, you start going to bring out your manual and you go through the checklist. And that is why he also wants you to really see that you have it up right there in the brain, but as well, you also have where you have a reference where you can always go into and check. And that is why emergency contingency actions is a major pass or fail questions in our exam and getting to our next stage, be it from cadets to OOW, from OOW to chief officer, from chief officer to master. And now we are going to be dealing with emergency contingency. And the first one is fire. when there is fire on board, and you said they shouted the fire, which was a very good analysis, but that shout, did it get to everybody? Now, there's one thing I really need to note down for everyone before I go down to fire is, before I go down to the fire, for every emergency procedure, we always have an initial and immediate action. Now, reporting to MAIB, for instance, is an action that you will carry out during an emergency situation, but it should not fall under your first top 10. Now, recalling the GPA is an action you will carry out under your emergency, but it should not fall under your top 3. What we all want you and the examiners are wanting you to see, and even you on board, what's the first thing you would do when something happens? If there is fire, are you running down to go and check your SOPEP plan because you are afraid that there might be pollution? Of course, there might be pollution in case of any fire because of the source of the fire, but that should not be your initial action. So where I'm stressing this is, we all need to be very conscious of our initial and immediate action. When they give you an emergency, don't just look at, oh, I know the tip tat, I know the pros and the cons, but what is the first thing that I will do? If right now, if I'm in this building and God forbid, boom, fire breaks out, I will not be saying, oh, I'm looking for my biscuit or anything. It's just the only thing left on my head is what? Is to run out. But the only thing, we get to the exam and we get carried away by the theory that we've read, and we kind of misalign from the practical. Because when we get on the ship, the practical sometimes comes to our subconscious mind. So now let's deal with the first emergency, and let's see how we are dealing with it. Fire. What is the first thing that you do in fire? And that's why I started with initial and immediate action. Your initial and immediate action in fire is 1, raise the alarm. That's what everybody wants. Once you have heard there is a fire, once someone has shouted there is a fire, that is not an alarm raised. Now, how do you raise alarm? We have the alarm on the bridge there. We have the call points. We have the call points there. Raise the alarm. And immediately after you raise the alarm, for the safety of everyone, it's your duty, Chief Officer, OOW, Master, to do what? To muster all crew and passengers. And I keep putting this, you will keep seeing this check for missing and injured personnel, because I failed my orders because of this. Yes, I've mustered everybody, but did you check for missing or injured personnel? So all answers on my emergencies, especially in the United Kingdom, FCA, they bombarded me twice because of this missing and injured personnel. When you muster people, you don't just muster and say, I've done the muster. Everyone is accounted for. Now, when there was fire, just like Precious said in the lovely example, it's not all fire that will boom, that will be a very big mayday. And sometimes there have been argument about it. What do you want to send immediately after fire? Do you want to send a mayday first? Or you want to send an urgency, which is pam-pam, and then which can be upgraded to a distress call, to where? To all ships and coast station, on the nearest coast station. So this is still alarm. Then secondly, what am I doing? Am I on the way? Am I at anchor? If you're at anchor, still fine. But if I'm on the way, then what am I telling other people around me? My lights. If I'm at night, you cannot just be on the way when there's fire on board and you think you are all under control. I will display. Now, I want to stop there and ask somebody. KM, if you are there, please unmute yourself. Just a quick question.
Okay.
Yeah, you saw me put display NUC. Why
Yes.
didn't I put display restriction ability to maneuver?
That is because with the NUC, it's due to exceptional circumstances. So a vessel is not able to maneuver as she's supposed to. So whereas with your restricted inability to maneuver is due to the work that the vessel is carrying. So NUC is appropriate in this case.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. Because this has been another scenario. Oh, fire is on board. I'm not able to maneuver the way I want to maneuver. That's not what the definition of restricted inability to maneuver is saying. The definition of this comes from not under command. Not under command, it doesn't mean that there is no captain on board. But not under command means you are not able to follow these rules as a result of exceptional circumstances. So let us not put RAM here, because RAM is due to nature of our job or due to nature of operations is carrying out. So that is why we're going to have it on NUC. NUC is very important. At night, you display your NUC light. JJ, what is NUC light?
Okay. Yeah, good evening, Captain. NUC light is double red, two red lights. Not on that command.
Double red and two red. I'm confused.
No. Two red. I said double red.
Okay.
Or two red lights.
Thank you very much.
That's at night.
That's at night. What of day?
Okay, they have to. There is two balls. Yes, I think two balls.
Two balls. How is the balls?
Two black balls.
I know it's two black balls. How are they positioned?
Okay, I just in a vertical position.
Exactly.
One on top of each
Try
other.
and complete the answer in a professional way. Two black balls might just be, you will just be seeing two black balls the same size like this. I mean, just pointing like this. But one is on top of one another. And that brings out the picture of what you're trying to paint. Then at night, NUC, restricted visibility.
NUC, okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
NUC, restricted visibility. What's the Fox signal?
The Fox signal is two prolonged blasts followed by one shot.
Two prolonged followed by one shot blast. That's what you will need to start putting into consideration as well. So you've raised the alarm, you've mustered everybody, you've sent the information. If you are on the way, let every other person know, because your vessel will not be under command. Then what? You commence closing of all fire doors, all the vents, all the fans. And why are we doing this? To what? To trap the fire, to not allow this fire to spread to different places, to not allow this fire to increase. That's why every fire door, every vessel must have different fire doors as per SOLAS. Then if on the way, we'll maneuver the vessel to disallow the wind from spreading the fire. So you can just imagine the fire is coming from the port side, and you are maneuvering your way at which the wind is just blowing directly on it. What will the wind do? The wind will blow the whole fire and the heat, and it keeps spreading around. So that is another thing that you start to put into consideration. Well, there's one thing that I needed to point out here, if anyone is writing, and I will change this. I need to even change it on the slide here, is to note that if you're an OW or you're a chief mate, make sure your master is mustered. So when you call muster all crew and passengers, ensure that you have called your master as well. So I'm answering this whole thing also from all angles, from master, from chief officer, from OW. For OW and chief mate, make sure your master is called as soon as you raise that alarm. Then you isolate electric supplies. Now, this is another thing that failed me now again, but this time I was going for masters. Logging of all activities. Captain Tayo made us to understand how important reporting to the MAIB is, if you are reporting scanty information, then tell me how your report will be. Tell me how your story will be. But logging series of all events should be on your subconscious mind from the beginning. If you are a deck officer, your master will instruct you. If you are a master, you must make sure that the chief officer and the second officer are logging the event, and this must be said to the examiner, because it's one thing for you to know the answer, but it's another thing for you to say the answer for the examiner to know. Make sure all events are logged for proper accountability, for proper investigation on different occasions, or even proper claims as well. These are initial actions for fire. Then now we'll move to the second action, which I will call the assessing and investigative action. So like I told you, first action is your initial action. Bam, you must take. Then the second action. Why is my list not? Oh my God, I need to go to yeah. Assessment and investigative action. I keep coming back to the example of Precious. First of all, there was an initial action to muster everybody until they now found out that it was just a smoke. But the initial action was well carried out. Scream, alarm was there, everybody muster, oh, bring it down, it's a smoke, but everybody mustered. You won't first of all go and find out where the fire was. You won't first of all go and find out where the smoke was before coming back to raise the alarm. We've done that initial action. Now the next set of actions, assessment and investigative action. And which is four major things. One, you will determine three major factors of the fire. So the examiner, sir, will determine the location of the fire. The location of the fire is very important. Is it in the engine room? Is it in the galley? Is it on the main deck? Is it at the bridge? Then secondly, the size of the fire. Very important as well. So we'll know what we are dealing with. We know the assessments that we are going to put into place. We know the fire party. We start calculating our subconscious mind. Then the type of the fire. Another day we'll deal on fighting different types of fire, because you cannot fight the electric fire the way you are going to fight fire in the galley out of oil. You cannot fight, especially on the main deck, fire pumping out of petrol and diesel, and you think you are going to just go there and just pour water on it. What type of fire are you fighting? I will want to ask just a brief question. Bravo Oscar Kilo. How many types of fire do we have?
I think we have four classes of fire.
Okay.
We have the oil, the chemical, the electric. I think the oil fall under class A. We have the oil, the electric, the wood, chemical, but the classes is A, B, C. So either A is iron. Yeah, it's like iron fire. I can't really remember, but
yeah,
I can't remember, but it's four classes of fire. So oil, iron, electric.
Yeah, I don't want us to digress into that aspect, but I'm just going to note it down, and it will be another nice topic for another day. But I'm glad that we all have the basic knowledge to know that there are types of fire, so people don't see it that way. So Precious, when I say types of fire, why is it important in this first investigative action?
So you will know the exactly extinguisher to use.
The exact extinguisher to use. Thank you very much. You know the exact extinguisher to use. You know whether you're using a powder, You know whether you are using water, you know that whether you are using CO2, you know the exact extinguisher to use so that you don't go there and cause more damage. Determine the location, the size. If it's all over the engine room and you are going there with a 2 kg fire extinguisher, you have killed yourself. Then the type. Then secondly, you on the bridge have to also do so many assessments. The traffic density. If, for instance, you are on a channel, there's traffic on your front, there's traffic at your back, traffic on the left side, traffic on the right side, or you're in Singapore Strait, or you're in the traffic separation scheme, or you are just entering to the UK, or you are in one, you are just an anchorage and everybody is just, around you, even though you're anchored. Who are you going to affect? Your traffic density. And when I mean traffic density now will make you to really start thinking of what action are you going to take. Because if you are moving on a 10 knot speed and so many vessels are around you, it's a different scenario for someone who has just dropped his anchor somewhere. There's no one around you. You know, okay, you are balanced. But a master, a chief officer, a second officer must always have this situational awareness. Then proximity to shore or dangerous areas. For instance, I am on fire. I am just a container vessel, and there is an LNG vessel just 3 miles from me. In short, we are just close there, and now I am not under command, and the guy is it's just right there at anchor. What do you think will happen? Massive explosion. Proximity to shore. I've lost my. You spoke to us about blackout. Okay, now we are just there blackout, and for an offshore supply vessel, you are going towards an FPSO. Or you are going towards an oil rig, or even we are on airport for no reason now, you are now going towards the jet sea in an uncontrollable manner. Proximity to shore and dangerous areas. Then another factor, how bad is the weather? You don't want to be somewhere in a very high force wind and you are there and you are battling with fire and you don't want to put that into consideration. Make assessment of these things. Then if necessary, try to start maneuvering to prevent additional danger. If there's any place in the traffic separation scheme, I really feel like asking so many people questions now. Traffic separation scheme, when are you supposed to enter into the separation zone? Who will answer that question?
Yeah, during emergency.
During emergencies. This is where you...
Or you want to pick up pilots.
Thank you. I needed just that emergency. So this is when you will now start thinking, okay, should I go into a traffic separation zone? Because I'm not supposed to go at all. So if you are not there, you're not assessing all these things, trust me, you will just only be bringing more dangers. So now imagine somebody has left this chapter and I've gone to start phoning. You must inform the PNI. You must inform MAIB. You must inform other people as well. You must get the medical team ready. But you've not done this assessment. The vessel is just going on its own. You don't know the size, you don't know the type, you don't know the traffic depth, and you are doing others stage by stage. Initial and immediate action. Assessment and investigative action. Then, this one is also important. That is when from your assessment and your investigation you've done, you first put the situation under control. It's not like you have put it under control, but at least you put it in a state that is really not quite acceptable. Then you've made this assessment. From this assessment, you make your plea or your notification or message. You need to inform the company. This is what has happened. Just a quick call. It is not a full information. That's one thing. An initial notification. Oh, DPA, just be informed. My vessel, unfortunately, when we just had a fire in the engine room, we are carrying out some investigative blah, blah, blah. This is the so far. This is where the next thing I'm going to ask In my own job description, where is the fire? Is everybody safe? Have you mustered everybody? This is where this information will come out from. What is the traffic density there? What's the weather like? Then after you've made all this, we will now go into where we need to work on contingency actions. So now this is your contingency action. For a chief officer, organize the fire party. For a master, instruct the chief officer to organize the fire party. For a second officer, you have to work with chief officer in organizing this fire party. But especially UK examiners, Australian examiners, and I'm sure also Nigerian examiners, you are not just going to pick a BA set, oh, there's fire in that compartment, and you bear it on your AB's face without carrying out the checks. JJ, unmute yourself and tell me quick checks. We are just going to do 2 checks on a BA set before you wear your AB to fight the fire.
Okay, sir, please, can you come back with the question so that will be clear, sir?
Your breathing apparatus set. We are now going to fight the fire.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to check anything? Or, there is fire in that compartment where this thing and get inside there?
Sure. Yeah, you have to check the level of the oxygen, and also you have to check the integrity of the BA, probably from the normal maintenance that you carry out on it every month. You should have checked that. But when it comes to the case of fire, immediately for a contingency plan, you have to check the level of the oxygen is very, very important. And also if there is any damage or wherever to it, so that the person wearing the BA2 will not be in danger in case if the person is entering
I just want the bullet points. Apologies, but I just want the bullet point. You check the oxygen. What else are we checking again? And just something. What else are we checking?
First, you do visual check. Second, you check oxygen. Third, you check the low level alarm.
Low level alarm. How will you check down?
Okay, so if I can just come in, you check
another person.
You can just check the whistle alarm. That is done by you close the valve that is supplying the air to the max.
Okay,
then you open.
I understand. Sorry, I don't want us to go, but yeah, that is where I was going to. You carry out that whistle check. That whistle check is what pressure I was talking about, also the low pressure. So when it gets down to that low side, you get that whistle. On the sound of that whistle, no matter the fire you are fighting, guy, get out. Or else you do what? You only just be causing another big casualty down there. To carry out basic checks, JJ has said you carry out the checks, make sure that the plant maintainer, just a brief check, they've checked this thing, then you check the nose marks, you check the face marks, you check the straps. Is it well tight? You don't want to, then you check there's a leak. You also have to check there's oxygen leak as well. Is it not that I'm going to enter there and then the face, the nose marks is not tight to my own face, and I'm just going there and I'm breathing CO2, trust me, that is another casualty. Basic checks, you don't need big checks, but you have to check them. Then, fire. A lot of things carry with fire, which is heat. Commence boundary cooling. Commence what? Boundary cooling. And this should be maintained throughout. So if there's fire in this compartment, on all other compartments, just make sure you are keeping the heat down. Then prepare your medical officer to be on standby. So if you are the second officer, it's like chief officer, please read the medical officer, I'll be on standby with the first aid kit. To do what? To treat, not treat the passenger, you treat the crew, but you are concentrating also on treating the firefighters as well. Then we commence firefighting safely. I keep putting safely. You have to put all safety into consideration in this case here. Then, like I was telling you, that you go down there and you hear the whistle sound, run out. But the fire is still there. Have you prepared an emergency backup team? Also, if someone was even inside there, you did not do the checks very well. The person is breathing, he's thinking he's breathing oxygen, but also the nose mask was not, the face mask was not properly strapped, and he's breathing all that mist, and then he collapsed inside there. Do you have rescuers on standby? Or it is that time you say, oh, AP, jump up. Yeah, somebody has collapsed inside there, run inside there. Everything has got to be in place. And trust me, if we practice this on board, not just because we want to feel a drill, but let's just practice it. You will see it becomes part of us. Then the bridge also has to do their job. And that was why, whether it was last 2 weeks, I was telling somebody, you on the bridge, you have your own job responsibility. Even if there's a man overboard and you can swim for Africa, you are not to jump there. You have your own responsibility on the bridge. Because once you call me and give me an initial notification, in the office, I will keep on calling every time. What's updates? Have you continued fighting? And there's no one on the bridge, trust me. There is either you guys don't know what you are doing, or the situation have overshadowed you people. Someone must always maintain communication with the Coast Guard. Someone must always maintain communication with the company. Above all, not much communication, because they will call. If you have seen, I've been in a fire situation or one of my persons before, they will keep calling. Not because they want to worry, but because they want to help. They want to know the situation. And this kind of help them to note that, okay, this was the last time we spoke to so vessel. Then you prepare the lifeboat on standby. Seek assistance from other vessels in the vicinity as well. And what? You also maintain watch on the stability of the vessel. This is for chief officers and masters. You maintain watch on the stability of the vessels. Fire is coming from one tank, and all of you are pumping the tank. Okay, we want to quench the fire. You are dropping so much water in it. Trust me, if you are not keeping watch of the stability, you guys are already tumbling the vessel before you know that you have listed. Free surface effect is just dropping out from different places due to fighting of fire. I can understand everybody is going a wire left, right, and center, but the person on the bridge must always still keep watch on the stability of the vessel, the listing of the vessel as well. You don't want to, out of one, you destroy another thing. This stability case has become, let's say, 5 out of 100. But those little 5 has really brought so much, brought a lot of damage. And that is why for chief officer, when they are examining you, they want to even see itself, whether you are also stability conscious. I was speaking to somebody, is right there in the group, and I was telling him what are your 3 major functions of the chief officer. Stability is one of them. Then afterwards action. After you have done all the contingency plan, now let's break the table down. It's not like you just keep fighting and then you just tell the examiner, oh, these are my actions, bam. There are 2 cases here when there's fire on the ship. It's either you cannot control the fire again. And we have seen it on MAIB reports, we have seen it on internet, we have seen it everywhere, where fire brings down a whole ship. At least the fire can just start from the galley. But also, there are situations where the fire can be put well under control. So you break it down. If the fire is getting out of hand, especially if it's from the engine room, you deploy your CO2. And even for the deployment of CO2 again, there is another procedure for deployment of CO2. By one, making sure that everybody is accounted for. You've made sure everybody is accounted for. Make sure all your vent and your valve are, your vents, air, fan, extraction are closed. Go around it again, check again. Then allow the engineers to carry out their checks. Then carry out another edge check again. Make sure everybody's again accounted for. You don't want to deploy CO2 inside an engine room where just prepare their people. So CO2. Then also get ready to abandon the ship on master's orders. For masters, the answer to you will be, I will get ready to give an abandoned ship verbal order. But other chief officers that are listening to me, second officers, cadets, don't even say it. That's why I did not even put it here at all. Do not say, oh, I'm going to. The verbal abandon ship order comes verbally from the master of the vessel when things are getting out of hand. And then when things are getting out of hand, of course, instruction of the master, commence man overboard, abandon ship drill, which that one is another emergency as we go on. Then if the fire is under control, what are you going to do? I started by saying boundary cooling. Don't just say, there was fire in cabin 302. We have quenched the fire. Everybody go to sleep. No. Be careful of the high temperature. Be careful it's spreading. Then be careful of likelihood of reignition. Then continue with that boundary cooling till there is 100% certainty everywhere is cool and calm. Then also you have to check adjacent compartments. Hope the fire has not gone to hide down somewhere. To check that the fire has not spread, especially through heat transfer. Then, of course, I started off by saying in the initial action, you close all the fan, vent, and everything. Then now you can now consider and think, should we open the ventilation for air, for the smoke to start clearing out? Like I told you, people in the office, the Coast Guard, we always want information. You should always be there to say, okay, I will update the office and the Coast Guard and vessels in the vicinity. Record all events. I keep stressing this. As a master, if you're going for a master certificate, make sure you are stressing that you are making sure that your officer is recording all events, all evidence are being taken. If you are a second officer, you will record all events, chief officers. Then proceed to your nearest port of refuge with appropriate nav signal. So nav signal will be, okay, you are no more under command, let's go. But if you are still not under command, man, you still need to leave those flights. Then after that, informing action. You cannot finish without going to this action. When I ask some candidates, they're like, oh, who do you want? Who will you inform? I'll inform owners. I'll inform everybody. Who are the everybody? Who are the everybody? Inform the owners. Inform the charterers. The P&I insurers, classification society, the flag state, of course, MEIB. And the last one there goes for master candidate of declaring note of protest and general average, if appropriate. But that's another maritime law subject. So that's for fire. So we can see how we've broken it down from initial to assessments, to contingency actions, to action, afterward actions, when you have done all your fighting and everything, down to inform. This is now when you make full inform. There will be forms that you'll be filling here. I pity the master of these vessels when he's filling these forms. Now on again, grounding. And we've asked this question, and I could see this question got some other candidates right there that they are in this forum right now on what you will do immediately. I started by saying again my initial actions. Your vessel was on 5 knot speed. And the first thing you want to first do when the vessel grounded, you start closing watertight doors. Are you sure? Or start updating the AIS status. We know you update AIS status. What are you first doing? Stop the vessel. Have a quick look of the surroundings when you stop your vessels first. The surrounding dangers, the situational awareness of what's going on. Where did it stop? Where did the vessel ground? Before you stop, where is this vessel ground? Where is it not moving? If it's in the channel. People are saying I should. Yeah, I will send it. I've been receiving private messages about sending this slide. The slide will be everywhere. But as much as you can, there are many things I'm saying that are not in the slide that you can also take note as well. But yeah, initial actions. Have the vessel stopped. In short, in grounding situations, especially for captains, the examiner is always looking for your first 3 actions. And the examiner asks somebody and he failed the person just because of that. Your second officer called you to the bridge to tell you your vessel has grounded. What would you do? And of course, the master answered and said, so I will come to the bridge and take over. Everybody has their own opinion. But from the examiner opinion, that was, he really failed him and told him, I'm failing you for this. You cannot just come and take over without having a view of what is going on around you. So you as the officer, it's your responsibility to have full awareness before you even say, okay, Captain, this was this. I mean, this vessel is passing by, this vessel is on 3 knot speed, this one is on 4 knot speed. There are some dangers back, there are some dangers at our front. What are the surrounding dangers? And this is why a second officer on the bridge should be fully focused on your watch. Not just on the radar, not just on the window, but around you, what is happening around your vessel. So stop the engines, have a quick look at the surroundings. Situational awareness is what I like to call it. And then you quickly sound the alarm. Of course, then whoever is sounding the alarm, muster everybody down, carry out head count of missing and injured personnel. Then make sure the master is on the bridge if you are not the master. Display the signals. And this is where I like to come again. Vessel at ground at night. Somebody tell me what's the signal?
Two red lights with 1 white light on top in the vertical line. There's 3 lights. The up one is white. The 2 is red in the vertical line.
Vessel at ground.
Yes.
I mean the shape, sorry.
The shape. 3 black ball.
And Fox signal.
The Fox signal.
Yeah, I know that does not come by easy.
I think is additional after, yes, quick ring in the forward side for 5 seconds, and followed by a gun in the half area, then 3 stroke of the bell. Short, long, short. No.
So this is for vessel.
It's addition of anchor, then you put the 3 stroke. What you do in anchorage, anchor vessel, then the stroke.
It's all sounding rising.
3 stroke, 3 quick stroke, 3 short stroke, I think.
I think it's trying to say 3 distinct strokes.
3 distinct strokes.
Before and after the ringing of the bell, before after 5 seconds ringing of the bell, then the also sounding of the gong after the 5 seconds of ringing of the bell.
And 3 distinct strokes.
Okay, EA, was that for vessel less than 50 meter or greater than 50 meter?
No, that's for greater than. Less than, there is no rapid ringing of the, there's no 3 distinct stroke before. There's no 3 distinct stroke, and it's for lesser than, it's just the one on the forward station.
I'm noting it down. I don't want to go away from this, but it's good. I need everybody to really notice that as well. And you come back next week with a full blown answer. But we'll also have another class on that one. It's really quite an interesting one for everyone to be able to communicate this sound out very well. So back to the initial action. If it's at night, let him know, let us know what is the problem. Aground. You don't want to be aground at night and everybody is just seeing you. You are keeping a light on the vessel on that way. You shade if at day, and then fog signal if at night. Then we close all watertight doors. Again, make an initial report. Just a notification to Coast Guard or the coast station or to the company. My vessel has gone aground. Update the AIS status, and then commence logging of all sequence of events. All events. It's very, very important for us to be able to say that out. So, yeah. Then I go down to my assessment and, my gosh, I call it investments here. I hope what am I investing? But I'm just going to try and change this. But no, I'll leave it, I'll change it before I send it out. But what I meant was the assessment and investigative side, which is one, you determine your position and the depth of water. Determine what? Your position. Why is it important to determine your position? On what's the depth down there? And on what ground did I ground my vessel? What's the seabed? What's the nature of the seabed? Because the nature of the seabed will just give you an idea of how bad your hull might be. Then sound round the vessel. Determine the seabed nature. Make a quick assessment of possible damage. When I make quick assessment of possible damage, of course, I should be expecting it with the bow that will go first. So which compartment might be affected? Just a quick assessment of which compartments will be affected. Then you commence sounding of tanks. So which compartments will be affected will not make you go and start sounding tank at the aft or start sounding the bilge tank in the engine room if that was not from the assessment. So from that one, then you are going to sound all the tanks, but first of all, the first tanks that you are going to sound it will come from your quick assessment as well. Then checking around the vessel for pollution due to spillage from the vessel. Yeah, that's another interesting question. Can someone answer this question? Do you know where you are going to get information of the seabed?
You can get it from the chat now, I believe.
You believe?
You can get it from
I think it's in one of the publications. MP 100, I think, one of the publications.
What publications? What is the publication? What publications?
That will be your setting directions.
Yeah? Sorry, come again. Did I hear somebody stop now?
Yeah, she was trying to say you can get it from sailing direction. Yeah, sailing direction for that area. That is what she was trying to say.
Okay. I will notice that. I will come back to it at the end of the class. Where we'll get this seabed natures. So moving forward, after knowing the seabed nature, make a quick assessment, sounding around, then check for pollution. The tank that has been, any affected tank, is there a leakage? Is the leakage due coming from the vessel and going to the sea? Then, this is an important question. You assess the tide. Am I in low tide or am I in high tide? If it's in low tide, then fine. Will the high tide be enough to raise me up? And when is even the high tide as well? If you're already on high tide, then what other actions now will you start taking? Or if you're even in low tide, are you going to wait for the high tide, or you can start carrying out some action? So this assessment, you start bringing it, and then that's what you are going to make, inform the company. Moving on, that's when we now carry out our actions. Now, what is the first action? The first action in everybody's subconscious mind, the captain, the chief officer, second officer, is I need to refloat this vessel. Then also, if there's damage to the hull, refloating the vessel should not be the only thing that comes to the mind of the captain or the mind of the officers. Why? If there's damage to the hull that might sink the vessel already due to the nature of the seabed, then considering of beaching of the vessel is important. I want to know if I'm on the same page. Can someone tell me the meaning of properly beach the vessel?
Intentionally ground the vessel.
Intentionally grounding the vessel.
Yes.
But the vessel is already grounded.
Okay.
Intentionally keeping it so you cannot whatever water or tide that come in cannot float it in.
Exactly, but
Okay.
when I mean intentionally,
if I might come in, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, if I might come in, using the grounding again, grounding is more or less like a negative thing to a vessel. So beaching the vessel is intentionally taking the vessel safely to the shore. I think that's the right definition.
Taking it to the shore. I want to know we are on the same page here. When you mean taking it to the shore, is it taking it to the on-air port or taking it to where?
No, negative. Taking it, taking the vessel safely to a landmark. I mean taking it to the ground, close to the ground also, not to a jetty also.
Okay, just
okay, sir. If I can contribute, beaching, like I don't know how he wanted to define, but I'll still use the word intentionally grounding the vessel with the intention of refloating it.
Okay. If for any reason you are going on quite a low speed, 2.0, 2.5, and then your vessel got grounded, do you think it's all the whole vessel that will be grounded?
No.
It's going to be sitting at least on the bow.
Yeah.
Then do you think that there's a possibility of the vessel coming out?
Yes, there's a possibility.
What might make it to start coming out of the ground?
Height. If there is a tide, the high
change
tide.
of tide, raising it up. So just imagine now you have injured the vessel, and the only thing sustaining it now is that ground, and then the tide is coming up. But you know now after your assessment that you've made here, you've now found out that if this vessel comes out of this water without any proper salvage or towage, we are going to sink. Then what are you going to do next? Now, was it EA that answered me?
You beach it now.
That's now, let's beach this vessel and make sure that even if there's change of tides, even high currents, at least we are still going, the vessel is going to be safe. There's going to be safety of life, there's going to be safety to the marine environment and safety of property. But this is something that the captain really to carefully analyze. But for chief officers, for second officers, you're taking instructions. Your own is, as per instructions, you carefully refloat the vessel. But when masters are coming into play here, is refloating the vessel. First of all, is it going to bring more damage, or is it going to bring more harm to my vessel, to the marine environment, and to life on these vessels? Then if, of course, there will be no any harm, then let's start the ballasting, changing of trim. So let's say it's from the forward, you can ballast the aft, and then the vessel goes up, you have high trim, and you can deballast your vessel. Consider there's flooding in the tank due to ingress of water. I'm going to pick a chief mate candidate to tell me what booklet and what does the booklet entails that we are going to use when there's flooding.
Damage stability.
Damage stability.
Yes.
Booklet. So what's the damage stability booklet?
So damage stability help you to determine if the vessel is still seaworthy despite the damage. So they have some certain tanks. If those tanks are damaged, the ship will definitely sink. But if they are not damaged, the ship will still stay afloat despite the damage.
All right. Apart from the damage stability booklet, in an emergency, what other, relating to stability do we have?
Hydrostatic particulars.
That's hydrostatic particulars. That's different. That's intact when the vessel is intact. This one is not damaged. And I was talking about the damage stability plan.
Okay, yeah, the plan.
Is the plan found inside the booklet?
No, there is one. No, it's not found inside the booklet. The plan is like a map.
Okay, so what does the plan entail?
It shows you all the. It shows you the action to take, like the action to take. What you're supposed to take.
Yeah, so it's not a map. Is it a map or it's just showing you? Wait, can I get someone to help me here? KM, have you seen a damage stability plan before? JJ,
yeah, okay, so okay, I've not seen a damage stability plan before, but I'll just use my idea. I believe such plan should be able to tell you in case of damage or ingress of water to the ship, there should the tanks which you have to fill if there is a damage to this particular side of the ship, the tank which you have to fill, or the tank which you have to deballast in order to still have in order to still be able to take the ship to a safe place, or just different type of tanks.
Yeah, thanks. That kind of touch on it all. But the damage stability plan works with your damage stability booklet. It's all in one. It's showing you the survivability of the vessel. How many compartments will be flooded for your vessel to remain afloat? Then it starts showing you what are the plans, what are the actions that you are expected to do. Then it shows you the equipment that you are going to use when there's flooding, how to even use them, where you're going to be finding them. It shows you the plan, just like Precious said, the plans and the maps as well. But it's a broad booklet and plan that we must all put into play when there's flooding. Then, if you are unable to refloat your vessel, call for assistance. For second officers and chief officers, hearing me, calling for assistance, it's enough for you. But for chief officers, sometimes that's when we need to come in with, are we going to go on towage or are we going to go on salvage? Now that's an important factor again when we are answering emergency situation, especially for masters. But it's something that every captain will consider, especially if you are somewhere far Is it towage? Is it salvage? And that's maritime law. But we also need to bring it inside here to really understand, because the captains, I mean, the examiners go to the extent to ask, are you going to go on towage or are you going to go on salvage? So after the floating vessel, we call for assistance. That's good for second officer and chief officers. But for masters, calling for assistance, who are we going to consider? Are we going to wait for towage? When you are waiting for towage, have you looked at when the towage company will come? While you are looking at when the towage company will come, have you checked whether there will be any adverse weather that will be coming in? Can your vessel survive and you have a salvage company standing by? If you have a salvage company standing by and you can safely wait for the towage, there is no reason to go for the salvage, because in maritime law, the salvage is much more expensive than the towage. Now, this is, like I said, is where the masters also, captains also need to consider. That's why it's easier for second officers and chief officers. But also, second officer and chief officer, we all want to get to a captain position. Then after control and contingency, afterwards actions, you have refloated the vessel, you update the AIS, the nav signals to say that the vessel is on the way if you are going on the way. Proceed to the next port of refuge. Then declare general average, that's another maritime term, if appropriate, that we are declaring general average for the master mariners in the house. Issue the note of protest and check for deviation of compass. Now, EA, unmute yourself and tell me why am I going to check for deviation of compass after a grounding situation?
Okay, because deviation of compass, it has to do with it is caused by the ship metal itself. So if there been a major change in the metal which is used to make the ship, there's a possibility of a major change in the deviation of the compass as well.
Yeah, that sounds more like it. So I will still come back to it at the end of the class. Then informing action. Informing action, here we have to inform the owners, inform the charterers, inform P&I, classification society, inform the flag, inform MAIB, very important. Declare your note of protest if it's not of protest, your general average if it's appropriate, then inform all our machinery, because your all here is, of course, going to be affected. Then compass adjuster at the next spot. I put this compass adjuster at the next spot because it was one of my failing questions while I was doing my master's, because I did my orals twice. This compass adjuster and logging of events, because we also have to think about what has happened. Why is this important? After a major grounding of the vessel, and then your magnetic compass is telling you something different, and you are like, no, this magnetic compass it should be correct. And before you know what, you found yourself somewhere else again. Do you think your magnetic compass will be affected? If it will be affected, what are you going to do when you get to the next spot? So you also have to inform your compass adjuster as well. And note it in our head that during grounding, your magnetic compass will be affected, depending on the impact. I knew I will not be able to finish this thing today, because I've not gone man overboard, I've not done oil pollution, I've not done abandoned ship, I've not done dangerous cargoes. But I'm really glad I've been able to at least hit on those first two. Our next lecture, because I'm seeing man, it's already past my time now, and I need to now bring in time for questions. We've seen the next one will be on collision. And like I said, I always want to, when you think of an emergency, please first think of the initial action in collision. How are we doing? Are we maneuvering the vessel? I'm not going into it. I'm just going to make a broad view of it. I'm maneuvering the vessel away to impart further damage. For instance, if you're an oil tanker and then another container vessel hits you from the side there, are you going to say that, oh, and it hits you deeply? Because you know, if it pulls out, you are gone. That's another thing they want you also put into consideration as well. Then also, are you going to quickly think of maneuvering the vessel in a way that will minimize further damage? Are we going to close the watertight doors? Initial actions, then further actions on impact for, especially for this collision, then assessment and investigative action. Because collision, which I will go into the next time, collision will lead to bilging. Chief officers, there's no how you can skip calculation of bilging in your stability. Flooding, which we have just spoken about, and we'll go more into it. Excessive list of cargo due to the impact, especially if you are carrying deck cargoes, fire outbreak, and of course, marine environmental pollution. And then for each of these one, you should be able to really deal with them in your contingency actions, and then your afterwards actions and informing actions. So with this, from next time, because next week will be an oral section, it will be another two candidates. It's going to be an interesting time. Then after that, they will come into collision, man overboard, abandoned ship, cargo shifts on the vessel, dangerous good incidents. With that, I'll stop sharing the screen now, come back to everybody in the class, and start taking questions if you have any questions. I know I'm out of time already. But yeah, like I said, the slide will be given to everyone, so we can all use it as our notes in preparing for our exams. Does anybody have any question for me?
Okay, sir, just a quick one. After the grounding, the compass deviation, is there the possibility of vibration of the ship as a result of the grounding to cause a deviation in the magnetic compass?
I'm trying to catch your question.
When a ship grounds, is there when it grounds, like the vibration due to the effect of vibration as it's grounded, is there the possibility that that vibration can cause a deviation on the magnetic compass?
The deviation on the magnetic compass itself, there's always a vibration when the propeller is going to be struggling with water. But the deviation on the magnetic compass itself it might be affected by this, but it's not majorly affected by any vibration. This is due to impact. This is due to your damage that you might have incurred on the hull of the vessel or the underkeel of the vessel due to the nature of the seabed or due to the impact of the vessel. So what is going to affect your magnetic compass when you are grounded? The impact. You have just blown a major impact to the hull of your vessel. Also, the damage that this impact due to the nature of the seabed has caused on your vessel. These are major factors that will affect your magnetic compass. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So JJ.
Yeah, good evening once more, Captain. Not to waste our time, I want to ask this question. I believe all these procedures for answering examination, it is very, very good. But when we come to a live case scenario, I want to ask a question on the live case scenario. You and I know that panic will definitely set in and all the stuff. And if things are not going the way it is being planned, maybe according to the SMS, or something like that. Or maybe the people that are supposed to carry out some duties are not carrying them out according to what are you going to be doing in that scenario? I don't know if the question is true to you, sir, for the little explanation.
What you're trying to say now is practically, if the people doing
practical.
what they want to do, I mean what they are supposed to do, are not doing it properly.
Yeah, you're doing your drill, or on the drill is still something that you're expected to do and you're doing it fine. But on a practical scenario, okay, the AB that's supposed to carry the BA is so scared. This one that's supposed to say, hey, I'm not carrying it, I'm not doing it. You call this one, hey, I don't want to do it, all those kind of a thing, and it's an emergency, and there is no time. There's no time. So, master achievement, what are we going to do?
The thing about the thing about emergencies is that, especially emergency in the shipping sector, everyone is responsible. Everyone is responsible. So if you are the chief officer and your ABs are not going to carry out, do the fire and this and that, honestly, you are just in a position where you have your ABs not professional enough to be an AB. And that's the fact. And coming back to what will you do practically, there's no 1 + 1 is equals to 2 answer to that, honestly. But that is why, from the beginning, as an officer, you try and instill that confidence in your ABs. People who work with me while I was second mate and chief officer, they will tell you I'm the #1 person that likes driving the lifeboat. But it's not because I just want to keep just driving the lifeboat, especially when we are working close to a rig and there are people who are doing oversight right on my vessel. It's just because I just wanted it to be an habit where people are even struggling to drive the lifeboat with me. In pidgin language, they say, "Oh, we gotta leave," and that's what they're saying. They say, "Sir, please leave it, let's drive it." And I was like, guys, let me drive it. So make it interesting to them. Make the drills interesting to them. Because when the drills are not interesting to them, when you are not carrying, when the drills you are not carrying out the drills yourself, when the real scenario happen, they are like, "I've never done it before." And that is why even MLC gave room for emergency situations. Hours of work and rest. When can you deviate from hours of work and rest? If there is an emergency situation, you must help. And also, emergency situation does not stop on your vessel. If next time we're really going to see it. Now, in collision situation, you're also responsible to help other people. As per Solas chapter 5. If there's another collision on that vessel, both of you collided together, you should not just go. You have to stay there and assist them. And also there's going to be exchange of information. That one I will go there. But if you have found yourself in a situation where chief officer does not want to do his job, AB does not want to do their job, you just found yourself in a situation where you are working with people who do not want to do their job. Because emergency, there is no how you go on the ship without your 4 basic mandatories. And that is one of the first things they will teach you, because that's your job at sea. That's even our #1 job. So if just imagine now you are just working on a ship and nobody is ready to fight when there's emergency, trust me, you're on your own when that real emergency comes. If the answer is so, there's no one-on-one answer to that. But the only thing I will really say in the managerial view is make them like the drill, so that when the real scenario come, they will Captain Tayo is saying sign them off or make them like the drill. So when the real scenario come, they will
sign them off.
You'll be in a situation to really be happy to go and save the fire. I know of a vessel back 2016, 2016, right there in Nigeria, and there was a fire offshore. The chief engineer ran second engineer, everyone ran, left the whole district. There was no proper even sounding of alarm. But if not for the AB, without the help of anyone, because this is our duty. We are 60 miles from the nearest land, at least. If this ship sinks now, who are we going to call? So imagine you are just in a situation like that. You are just right there in Singapore offshore. There's nobody around. Before the Coast Guard come and rescue you, before any other person come and rescue you. That is why it is very important that everyone on your ship are ready and they love the drills and they are ready to assist as well. So this AB was one who rescued that vessel. Went inside there, That was when the chief engineer came. Oh, sorry, how are you? How are you doing? But he saved life. So please make it a duty to ensure that everyone under you, your mates, and everyone above you know how important it is to really value the knowledge of what to do in an emergency situation. If that answers your question.
No, it's okay, but we pray it should not happen.
Yeah,
Emergency,
like I said,
emergency.
there is no one-on-one answer for that. Everybody might say one, everybody might say another. So people might really love to sign him off, which I will still personally agree because, like I said, it's still part of your job in saving. Seriously, the time is really fast spent, and I hope today's class was really educative and we really learned a lot from it. The slide I'll share the slide. I'll share the slide for the classes that I've split today. I don't want to share the ones ahead because I also want us to think ahead of the class as well. Next week, it will be Papa and I'm going to text the second person that will do an oral class, and then the oral examiner, trust me, yes, I use the word she's straight, so come prepared, and like I said, it's just a preparatory class. So with that, I want to thank everyone in the house, Captain Tayo, the prayer warrior. How will this fit in autonomous ships? That's the argument that I had when I was doing my dissertation in master's degree. Autonomous ships, there's fire on board. What are we going to do? You cannot erode emergencies when there's autonomous. So autonomous ships are ships that are driving themselves, and these are new ships that are coming into existence. And that was one of my arguments. Autonomous ships are not ships that we can say are safe to even be in the maritime industry at all if we are talking about safety. But emergency situations is one of my major points there on autonomous ships. Breaking down of the ship, cyber security, and what are those things that they are arguments. But it's going to be up to so many people above me. But with that, I want to say thank you, Captain Tayo, Captain Anson, everyone for participating, Papa, Alpha Syria, Delta Syria, everyone in the class, and see you next week. I'm going to share this slide, and like I said, the next one will be collision and abandoned ship. So if someone can think ahead of that one and give me the feedback, I'll be very happy. So with that, I said au revoir and bye everybody.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Cap. Have a good night.
Thanks, Cap. Have a good night,
Good
sir.
night. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.